tremendous looking trophy.
Welcome to Platinum Explosion, number one PlayStation podcast in the Oceanias. My name's Dylan Blythe. Joining me, as always, Ashley Hobley.
Hey, Dylan, excited to be here. I sense it's going to be a good one.
It's a beauty, as they say. A beaut. This week in a trophy cabinet, bronze trophy, some slightly new Godfall details, a gold trophy for new Ghost of Tsushima details, and we hit a platinum for our first look at the PS5's new controller. So jumping straight into that, of course, the DualShock is over. Welcome our new Lord and Savior, the DualSense. I looked at your face. It looked like you had a funny to say. You got a funny.
No, I already said the funny, and you didn't realize.
What was your funny? Did I miss?
I said we sense. I sense it's going to be a good episode. I'm shocked you didn't get that.
Man, that's such a dad pun. What's your
I
age
know.
again? Blink 182. Jesus Christ. All right, so talking about the DualSense. It is in every which way of the form, definitely, I would say straight off the bat, worthy of a name change. And we're going to read through bit by bit of this, not like super long, but somewhat longish PS blog. Because originally I was copy pasting parts over, and then I was nearly copying everything over, so I was like, fuck it. But let's just get general impressions straight away. So, white and black controller, a little bit bulkier in the picture, of course. Not getting into the specs or like what features it has, but just simply from a visual standpoint, how do you feel about it? Because I know it's been a hot topic on the internet, of course.
I mean, at first I was like, whoa, that's a change. A drastic change. Obviously, the white is like...
It's an Oreo.
Yeah, well... I don't know. The first... It's like a weird Astrobot tie-in, I think.
Yeah, I've seen that joke, yeah.
Yeah, so...
I wish it's true.
Yeah, it's hard to say until you actually get it into your hands, but
yeah.
It looks like it could be comfortable. I think obviously the white is like throwing everybody off.
Yeah.
But I imagine it's going to come in a gazillion different colors, so that is not too much of a concern.
Yeah.
There are like little things that are a bit off, like they remove the colors of the buttons and that kind of thing. Whether that's something they'll include in the game, including a cool fan art design that I've seen, where when the actual controller's on, they like light up in the colors.
Light up. Yeah.
That's cool. But yeah, looks good. Interesting. I don't know. Obviously, we can't see the bottom, but there only seems to be the headphone jack at the bottom of the controller. There's not the other input thing that you rarely use for anything.
Excuse me, my back.
That's
button.
what I was about to get to. You can't plug in your back button thing on this the DualSense potentially.
Well, it's funny because I kind of just assumed this controller would have it.
I know. I'm like zooming in on this picture, and it's just a headphone jack in the middle.
Yeah, I know, but like this, I mean, they could be hiding something, I guess. But
or you could plug in the USB micro. The USB.
Yeah, that's true.
So you'd have to turn your thing up. No, you'd have to get an adapter for your.
It's already enough of annoyance. I would say straight away my original reaction when this was posted, whatever morning last week, the day after it was Wednesday, wasn't it? Yeah, I think it was Wednesday or Thursday. I'm not a fan of the color scheme. However, I don't really care that much because obviously there's going to be 1,000,001 controllers by the time even a year or 6 months into, there'll at least be several different ones. I kind of hope there's more than one at launch, so then I could just get a different one because I'm not a big fan of this one. If I have to get this, oh no, I don't care. I don't really care.
Do you think they're gonna? Well, obviously, it's safe to assume there's going to be white in the actual console if this is the design of the controller. Do we think there's going to be multiple colors of the console at launch? That would be a weird decision, but
I mean. I don't know if it would be a weird decision. It could possibly just be but see, here's the thing that depends. Like I think based on the controller, with its whatever you want to call it, the dual colored scheme thing, whatever we have going here. Two-tone. Thank you. That's the proper word. The two-tone color scheme we have going automatically screams, hey, the console's probably going to be a two-toned color scheme, presumably black and white, as is the controller, because that would all make sense. If this is the default color scheme, then the console will be the same. But I'm wondering, like, if the console has only one certain part that's like black or whatever, and it's kind of like a faceplatey type part, and they could just day one be selling different colored faceplatey type things anyway. You know what I mean? Like, maybe it's not a full, maybe it's easily changed. I don't know.
Easily customizable, yeah.
Customizable or something. I guess,
I mean, that'd be
but to get like the core question out of the way of if this is it, black and white console, black and white controller, day one, I don't care because I'll be more interested. I'll be more interested in playing the fucking games, talking about the games, whatever else. Yeah. I'll be more interested in all that than whatever the damn controller is. And I'll know that within at least 6 months, there'll be more options anyway. And I'll just buy whatever first one that actually takes my fancy, and I'll turn that into my main controller, and I'll have this one as a backup on a recharger stand, like I currently have several back here. Which, by the way, I don't think I've brought this up on the show because it hasn't really come up, but it could be somewhat noticeable. I'm down 2 controllers recently. And so I need this next console generation to actually happen because I don't want to spend the money on buying more PS4 controllers. Even when they're on special, they're still not.
Just keep them plugged in all the time then.
No, it's weird. So I had one controller. All this happened while playing Apex, all these weird errors. So one of them, the right analog stick, drifts now, like constantly sort of drifts. And then the other one, I can't actually remember off the top of my head. It was a different issue though, but it was something... it wasn't like the power or anything like that. It was a similar sort of button issue. Oh, I remember now. So so one of them, right analog stick, drift. Obviously a huge problem in first-person shooters. Becomes quite annoying. The other one, the left analog stick doesn't click in to run correctly. Like I have to press it super firmly for it to work, and that obviously becomes quite a issue as well. Right. So those two controllers are in the shit pile and can only be played with certain types of games now, kind of thing. And I'm down to 2 out of 4. 2 controllers died in the last month though. So this next generation needs to happen because I don't want to spend money on more controllers. Anyway, so back to the DualSense, because DualShocks, they're all dying if you don't know. They're literally over here dying on me as they knew the DualSense was arriving. My number one thing that I would nitpick about this, that I ever since I saw someone point out on Twitter that made the most sense to me, is how stupid it is that we actually are now at a point where you can't actually name any of the buttons on these controllers apart from the OG buttons. So obviously you got your D-pad, you got triangle, circle, square, X, but we don't have start or select anymore. And now we've got options and other button, whatever that is. The share, presumably the share button.
Create. They said create.
Is it an actual thing? They call it the create button. Okay.
I believe somewhere, yeah.
So you've got the options and the create button, but they're not written on the controller anymore. And it's kind of annoying because if you're trying to teach, this is what I saw someone point out on Twitter that I was like, actually, that does make sense. Like if you buy someone their first console or you're trying to explain to your parents who don't play many games, like, hey, here's how you play this game, press the options button. And they're like, where's that on the controller? It doesn't say options anywhere, you know? Like back in the day, you pass someone a PS1 controller, PS2 controller, PS3 controller, what have you. You're like, hey, whoever, you don't play many games, you press start. You look at the controller, it says start. You start up a video game, it says press start to start the game. You go, cool, start. Now it says press options. You're like, what the fuck? What's the options button? Like we know we play games all the time, you know? And it's super nitpicky type thing, but I do think it is applicable for people who do try and explain in those rare occurrences or whatever. Or it could be like a cognitive thing as well, you know, like learning type thing to dissociate because it doesn't actually say what the fuck it is. So on those levels, I feel like it's a little bit weird. They don't actually just have the words anymore, what the hell they are. Anything else you want to say about design before we dive into this actual post and hear what PlayStation has to say themselves?
No, we'll start. We'll start until I haven't got too much more to say.
Fair. I'm skipping the first paragraph, but...
wait. The one other thing is obviously the light bar has been removed, which is interesting given how VR works on the PlayStation. Either they're going to include like a better camera that picks up the light better off the tiny bit of light on the controller. Or you'll still have to use
your DualShocks for VR.
Yeah, that's the other more likely option.
Yeah, that's the one I'd probably put my money on, I think.
Until VR2.
Yes, until VR2. Yeah. So this says, when PS4 launched in 2013, the DualShock 4 wireless controller garnered a lot of positive feedback from gamers and developers for being the best PlayStation controller yet and for introducing forward-looking features like the share button. This brought us to the next question. How do we build upon that success? So straight away, I'd like to point out for this, I do agree that the improvement from PS3 to PS4 was massive. I think you could completely miss that if the PS4 was your first PlayStation console and if you came across from Xbox, or it's been a while since you picked up a PS3 controller. When I picked up a PS3 controller 18 months ago-ish or something like that, whoa boy. You really cannot underestimate how much, although those controllers may look alike, there are so many slight little changes in the weight, the feel, the overall build quality, those analog sticks being slightly further apart, that overall it just comes together to be it is a much better controller. So they can pat themselves on the back a little bit here. After thoughtful consideration, we decided to keep much of what gamers love about DualShock 4 intact, while also adding new functionality and refining design. Based on our discussions with developers, we concluded that the sense of touch within gameplay, much like audio, hasn't been a big focus for many games. We had a great opportunity with PS5 to innovate by offering game creators the ability to explore how they can heighten that feeling of immersion through our new controller. This is why we adopted haptic feedback, which adds a variety of powerful sensations you'll feel when you play, such as the slow grittiness of driving a car through mud. We also incorporated adaptive triggers into the L2 and R2 buttons of DualSense so you can truly feel the tension of your actions, like when drawing a bow to shoot an arrow. So these are, of course, the exact examples they've given previously before we knew it was DualSense, but when they were talking about the controller nonetheless. In that Wired article, for example, talked about the haptics triggers and the feedback and all this sort of stuff. And again, I have no idea how like you can sell anyone on any of these features without actually just getting the controller in their hand, you know? It's becoming sort of obvious how much of the PS5 is going to, they're trying to sell it on features that you can't really sell through a stream or a video, you know? Like their big things are, hey, haptic feedback, immersion of the controller, immersion of the 3D audio, all these other things. They're like, these are massive PS5 things, none of which are going to be easily to sell to people without them experiencing. So I feel like they really need at least one thing when they fully reveal the PS5 that's like a massive feature or selling point that's just very easy for people to understand. This provided us with an exciting challenge to design a new controller that builds off of the current generation while taking into account the new features we were adding. For example, with adaptive triggers, we had to consider how the components would fit into the hardware without giving it a bulky feeling. Our design team worked closely with our hardware engineers to place the triggers and actuators. I think I fucked it up last time I talked about it. The designs were then able to draw the lines of how the exterior of the controller would look and feel, with the challenge of making the controller feel smaller than it really looks. In the end, we changed the angle of the hand triggers and also made some subtle updates to the grip. We also took thoughtful consideration into ways to maintain a strong battery life for DualSense's rechargeable battery and to lessen the weight of the controller as much as possible as new features were added. For the buttons, you'll notice there is no longer a share button as we had with the DualShock 4. Don't worry, it's not going away. In fact, we've built upon the success of our industry-first share button to bring you a new Create button feature. With Create, we're once again pioneering new ways for players to create epic gameplay content to share with the world or just to enjoy for themselves. We'll have more details on this feature as we get closer to launch. So there's like a little bit of a tease, but I guess if off the top of your mind, looking at the share feature now, what ways do you think are the easiest to improve that menu when it pops up, or ways that you can use that button? You know?
Just more integrated into the base system so you don't have to pull up like special don't have to open up Share Factory so you can edit your video and that kind of thing. More options of where you can share stuff, I think, is clearly something they'd want to do. Yeah. I think it's interesting they chose the word create rather than share, because I think it's obviously create content rather than share moments. I think it's an interesting choice.
I guess it just makes me think that they're just going to build upon the Share Factory, because I don't think anyone really uses it much, and they may be actually trying to make it a more integral part of how you can share and use everything, and where you can share it and how it works and whatever else. Because I would say at the moment, like, I know when they pitched PS4, for example, it was take screenshots, capture short gameplay clips, upload them to Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, whatever. They'll go to there, and then in the early videos of PS4, they were showing the Watch News section of the PS4 with people like, you know, like sharing screenshots and whatever else. But can you say you've ever like scrolled through the Watch News and been like, oh man, look at all these people sharing screenshots and videos? No. You know, every now and then you'll see one pop up or something, and every now and then I share something from there and whatever. I guess I'll pop up on someone's. But other than that, it's
a byproduct of you sharing it elsewhere.
Yeah. So I guess they may try and build upon that section, the Watch News section for the PS5, and then have that a bigger part of sharing, like sharing what you're doing there. There's lots of ways they can integrate it.
It's create. It's not share now, it's create.
Yes, create content for your PS5 followers and players.
Yeah.
I think something I would like, I don't know how like CPU intensive or like what space they've got left over, but man, it would be cool if they changed the trophy thing from automatically capturing a screenshot to either capturing several or capturing the last minute of prior to you getting the trophy kind of thing.
Yeah,
you know,
because they already like saved it, so why wouldn't you just have the option to like toggle that on?
Yeah, because I would love that. You know, it saves, and then I trim a little bit, I create a new 30-second video. Maybe I could open up Share Play. It has some cool themes in there for trophies and whatever stuff. You can share platinum videos to your place and whatever. Create cool stuff. I don't know. They may be the create factor may be more to just do with streaming, unless the stuff we're talking about also, I guess, which I don't really know or have.
You press the create button, you go live.
Is that maybe that's it. So like forget the rest.
Nothing else matters.
Nothing else matters. I will say they definitely did win they were forward thinking. They can once again take a pat on the back for that, because trying to capture gameplay on an Xbox is like pulling fucking teeth pretty much. You have to press the Xbox button to bring up the menu, then like slide across and click a thing that's like capture the last 15 minutes of my gameplay, please. There's no like hotkey, and then like uploading and sharing it anyway is terrible.
It would have been easier if we hadn't all killed the Kinect.
That's true. I could have just said, hey Xbox, save clip.
Save clip. Yeah.
Even the Switch
I mean, when you think about it, that was kind of forward thinking. Now we live in a world with Google Home and Alexa and that.
Yeah. That was ahead of its time. Kinect. Bring it back.
Too forward.
Too cool.
That's what I said. Xbox Series X come launch the Kinect.
Maybe. What was I up to here? DualSense also adds a built-in microphone array which will enable players to easily chat with friends without a headset. Ideal for jumping into a quick conversation. But of course, if you're planning to chat for a longer period, it's good to have a headset handy. I don't know about that.
I hope that is disabled. There's a disable function.
Yeah, I mean, I want to be able to say, hey, PlayStation, save clip into my controller.
Yeah. But
other than that,
I don't want to accidentally be in Apex and say something bad about somebody and then actually hear it.
Yeah. I don't know in what world people would really use that and not use headphones, especially because I presume the quality isn't going to be great and you'd have to be like holding it up to your mouth to even get decent quality probably. Because where do most people hold their controllers? You know, like against your body kind of thing, you know, down by your waist or something like that. So it's and the microphone's literally going to be facing inwards to your body. that ain't gonna.
Yeah, people are going to hear your stomach grumble. It's going to be bad.
Yeah, that's gonna be terrible. I mean, unless they're gonna market it as, hey, you see so and so online, you're gonna see him at work in 5 hours, but you want to ask him what's for lunch. Instead of using your phone to ring them, you can now ring them through the PlayStation. Ring,
Controller.
ring. Hello, my DualSense is
Like
ringing.
it's that shape.
Hello, I answered on my DualSense. What's happening?
That works because it's like right next to your mouth with the microphone.
Yeah, it's exactly. It's really perfect for that. Now let's talk about colors. Traditionally, our base controllers have had a single color. As you can see, we went a different direction this time around and decided on a two-tone design. Additionally, we changed the position of the light bar that will give it an extra pop. On DualShock 4, it's set on the top of the controller. Now it sits at each side of the touchpad, giving it a slightly larger look and feel. So as I was talking about before with the bar, the only time I've ever kind of remember it's there is if I'm having to use it for like VR, or if I'm playing a super dark horror game or something, and then it becomes super noticeable. Most of the time, I kind of forget that the bar's even there until I randomly spot it if the screen goes dark for a couple of seconds and you see it pop up there in the reflection, you're like, oh yeah, that's a thing, hey. But most of its features that I thought could potentially be cool will actually work with the DualSense now, because they used to talk about how, you're playing Killzone or whatever, or all these other games, and when your health is low, it'll go from green, orange, red type thing. And it's like, well, I'm not looking at the back of my fucking controller while I'm playing the game. How's that information helpful? Whereas I guess now that the light bar is going to be built into and around the touchpad area there, those sorts of features now may be useful, or at least something that you could see without having to look in the reflection of your own TV to be able to see what the fuck is going on. But as you said before, it does bring up interesting questions about PSVR, of course. And I think the easy answer is that the DualShock 4s will simply have to work with the PS5 with the PSVR to make that work. So, and maybe the DualShock 4s just don't work with PS5 games, but they do let you sync them up to play PS4 games or PSVR games. That would make sense, I guess. Or maybe they do let you play them with PS5 games, in which case, why are we worried about the controller, the colors of the controller? Because you got your orange and your camo and whatever the hell else going on out there that you own, and go for gold at that point, I guess. But yeah, because definitely PSVR 2, it ain't going to have any of that shit. It's going to be, they'll be working with similar Oculus technology to get that going. They're not going to be using tracking of the motion through colors and whatever. That's so basic. It's so basic, PlayStation. Fuck. We are thrilled about sharing the final look at the DualSense controller with our fans, and we can't wait for everyone to get their hands on it. I'd like to close with a message from SIE President and CEO Jim Ryan to the community. Hello, Jim Ryan. Jim Ryan says, DualSense marks a radical departure from our previous controller offerings and captures just how strongly we feel about making a generational leap with PS5. The new controller, along with the many innovative features in PS5, will be transformative for games. Continuing our mission at PlayStation to push the boundaries of play now and in the future. To the PlayStation community, I truly want to thank you for sharing the exciting journey with us as we head towards PS5 launch in holiday 2020. We look forward to sharing more information about PS5, including the console design, in the coming months. Jim Ryan, President CEO and Sony Interactive Entertainment. So he still reckons it's coming out this holiday season, as much as you think it's not, Ash. And, not to say he may or may not know more than you, but he is the Jim Ryan. And also they say in the coming months. Can I have the console design like this month? And then you can share more information about it in general in the coming months? That would be great. Like when people say months, do you think they just mean in general, like longer, for as long as possible, or is that like a plural, like next 2 months?
It's a plural. In the next couple of months.
Okay.
Coming months.
Good.
I mean, any month could be coming, so.
No.
All months are technically coming, so.
No. You'll give me the answer I wanted to hear, and then you took it away from me. Yeah, so that's that. Any other random bits and pieces you want to bring up about the DualSense?
No, I mean, it's interesting. I mean, at least people are talking about the PlayStation 5.
Yeah, it's something.
I mean, it's such a departure. I mean, especially compared to what we've seen in the Xbox Series X controller, which is the same. Pretty much. Yeah. Identical almost. They've obviously put some thought into this. Yeah. It'll be seeing all the fan designs as well has been cool. Like different licensed properties obviously tied into that kind of thing, but different colors and black, and obviously the all black looks great. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that day eventually. And then of course, eventually people ask for a DualShock 4 version of the DualSense, and they'll release that.
Isn't that just a black version?
No, like of the shape of the DualShock 4.
Oh,
but with silly. The ability, yeah. It's like the GameCube controller. People want it.
See, I don't have much to say about the shape and everything because it's like that's all you need it in your hands to judge. Like, I think there's literally nothing I can judge about a controller based on the shape unless it looks utterly ridiculous. I'm going to find it hard to say, oh, that looks like it probably looks like shit, because I'm pretty sure most controllers, they probably look comfortable. You're going to, from picture, you hold it, may or may not be comfortable. I don't know, So we'll find out. Other people saying it looks too much like an Xbox controller. Might introduce you to the Nintendo Switch Pro controller, because that also just looks like a fucking Xbox controller. So I feel like that's it's not like they've switched the analog sticks to be offset or anything. They explain in the article it's bulkier because they had to fit more stuff in it, and then they tried to slim it down as much as they wanted or whatever. So it just got bulkier. I don't think they were directly trying to bulk up to copy Xbox's design. It sounds like they got bulkier because of the haptic feedback and the adaptive triggers and all this stuff. It sounds like, and the mic and whatever else. Like there's more in the controller, so the controller got bigger. It adds up. I don't want to put on my tinfoil hat and say that they're lying, because it adds up. I feel like there's much to go on there. Anyway, last thing I'll just say is it does make me more excited for the PS5 because it really does feel like, especially compared to Xbox, at the moment, where as cool as the Xbox, like whole thing about doing a series of consoles and just calling it the Xbox and it's a fucking fridge and their specs are great and all that sort of stuff. I'm excited about all next gen consoles on some sort of level. However, with this controller being so different, it has me more excited going, okay, so the PS5 must be like a full, like we're going somewhere kind of thing. Like how different can the console actually be? Makes me super intrigued to find out.
Are you interested that they kept the touchpad, which has relatively been reduced to a button? Just a
big button. Yeah, but it's also a dual-sided big button. That's an important part to remember. I don't know. I mean, there's some games that use it well. Like you swipe left for a map, swipe up for something else kind of thing. Like there are times when it's actually useful. There are times when it's just a big button. It's never...
That's cool too.
Yeah, that's cool too. Just a big old button's fucking great. So I feel like if they were just going to keep it as a big button, they're like, you know what, it's 50 more cents to make this thing a touchpad. Just fucking keep going, eh? Yeah, no, I don't. Yeah, it's fine. As long as the next Last of Us game doesn't launch on it and have me like having to
swipe quick time events that you need to swipe
things and whatever random shit. Yeah, none of that. Just use it for maps and stuff like that. That's cool. Keep going with that. I'm looking for the mic being used for in the first year of PlayStation. Each PlayStation exclusive, yell into the microphone to wake this character up or some bullshit like that.
No, in The Last of Us, if it's noise sensitive, so if they hear you say anything, the enemies hear you.
Yeah. You're joking, but it's probably right.
Yeah, if you breathe too loud, that dog will come get you.
Yeah, what difficulty do you want to play on? Your controller is fucking ruining your life, or just easy mode? I'll play on easy mode.
Yeah, it'll be crazy. People put their controllers in soundproof booths. play with hazmat gloved hands.
Yeah, playing a radioactive controller or something.
Yeah. Future.
So somewhat on not talking about PS5, but upcoming games, because games are still coming out in case you don't know. IGN's got the details about Ghost of Tsushima coming from the PlayStation magazine, but they've dotted down the important ones here. The article's called Allies in Ghost of Tsushima could turn on you depending on your actions. So they write, Ghost of Tsushima will eschew traditional video game waypoints in favor of having players navigate the world using landmarks and other physical features, according to a new preview for Sucker Punch's upcoming Samurai Ninja action game. So this was from PlayStation Magazine UK was the official thing. When it comes to marking your way through the detailed sandbox of Tsushima, players will only have to rely only on physical landmarks and understanding of the world to explore. There are no waypoints in the game highlighting where the next mission is or where a side quest might be located. Compare this to Sucker Punch's infamous series, which use different waypoints to highlight various activities players can engage with. So if you're looking for a destination, you'll hopefully have a good sense of in-game direction. So just stopping on this one first. Obviously, one game has done this in a specific mode so far. Others may have, and I'm not aware of them, but the one that sticks out is obviously Assassin's Creed Odyssey, which had the exploration mode, which turned off all hard markers, everything, and you had to, this is what that mode was. I would hope and presume that this is also somewhat an optional.
You would hope it's optional. I believe they did the similar thing in Red Dead 2, where they removed all waypoints, and like when you talk to people, it'll give you directions of where things are, so then you follow their directions. But yeah, this seems like an odd choice to remove player options. I mean, I understand wanting to go for a tone and like a cinematic setting and like a certain style, but to remove a certain element of accessibility and that kind of thing seems like an odd choice.
Yeah, and I saw, did you see Stephen, how do you say his name? Spone?
No.
Spone? The Able Gamers lead dude, you know, Steve. Old mate Steve. Anyway, Corey Barlog tweeted out this, like quote retweeted this story or a variation of it and said, "Oh, this sounds great. Blah, 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 blah." And then he replied to him and said that, you know, it's not actually because it's heaps of people with disabilities won't be able to play the game now, basically. I was trying to find his official tweet because I only just remembered seeing it before, but he basically pointed out how it's not actually going to be very... Oh, here it is. He said, "Hi, Corey. Having the option to remove them would be okay, but waypoints provide extremely critical information for people with cognitive disabilities and some physical disabilities where stamina is a challenge." There you go. Which is a very good point. And as he says here, having the option to remove them would be okay. Like, he's not against it being a mode as long as you're able to turn them back on for people who won't be able to play the game if it's the only way to play the game. So that would be quite annoying. If this is normal mode, I'm fine. You know, like I'll go with it. It'll be a weird thing because I'm so used to video games having some form of waypoint somewhere. So that would be quite weird for me personally. However, my first thought as soon as I read this was pretty much worried about exactly what I saw him tweet about, just with him being able to word and put in the actual examples that I couldn't have. So that would be interesting. Yeah, you got anything else to say on that before I move on to the next point?
No. I just hope they have waypoints because they'll be easier. I mean, as long as the landscape's not like, as long as it's not like you go in a certain direction and you can't go that way, you have to go a specific way around, you know? Like, that would annoy me to no end. Like, there's only one place, the map's like split in half. There's only one point in the map where you can cross over. That would be frustrating. But yeah, obviously they've planned for that kind of thing.
Yeah, I guess if this has been part day one, this is how we want the game to be. You design the game with this constantly in mind.
You design the map with that in mind.
Yeah, and then maybe the way the game opens up slowly means you're constantly being taught areas at small chunks at a time till you get to the point in the game where everything's open to you, and by then you kind of know everywhere by the back of your hand kind of thing. That could be another possibility. Don't know. Either way, it's interesting given that I didn't think I would say taking away waypoints is fine as an optional mode thing, but I think taking it away, if this is the normal way, the normal difficulty, normal whatever, this is how the game's being designed to be played. I think that's a kind of brave choice because I feel like it's going to turn off a lot of. It's going to not only turn off a lot of people, but also make a lot of people not able to play the game. So interesting. The next thing they've got here, though, they write other highlights from the preview include how Eponymous, the ghost, right? Real name's Jin Sakai, was trained as a samurai but adopted ninja-like skills to take on Mongol invaders. That means Sakai. Is that how you say it? Saki or Sakai? Saki?
Sakai.
Sakai? Okay. Sakai can use his samurai abilities or ninja abilities to take on threats. The player's combat choice can even impact interactions with other characters in Ghost of Tsushima. Shimura, Sakai's uncle and also a samurai, doesn't approve of the ninja skills, which could negatively impact your relationship with the character if you rely on it too much. Another character, Makoto, is an expert archer and could be a powerful ally to Sakai. However, if she disagrees with too many of your actions, she could end up turning on you. This suggests there are limited branching paths where the story could change depending on your actions. So Sucker Punch has played with this stuff before, obviously heaps in the Infamous series. And this sounds like it's a more less like straight up make this
less
decision
black
good.
and white.
Yeah, this is less black and white and more just depending on how you play the game, you're going to probably regret something over here and be okay with something over here kind of thing. And it's just the way everything's going to hopefully play out in the background without properly just like pausing the game and being like, hey, just so you know, if you do this, this could affect this character. Like, I hope it just, you play the game and things happen. Yeah. That
It
cool.
feels like it was meant to have been the story all along. Yeah.
Yeah. The only one like asterisk I always have for this sort of stuff, because I do like player impacted choice type stuff, obviously, but then straight away it makes you wonder about a sequel. Like if they're setting this up for a sequel,
how do you do that? Yeah.
Straight away you're like, okay, what's the canon ending then? You know, like what do we go with when the sequel?
I mean, well, you always get to the ending. It's like who's there with you still?
Possibly. I mean, if the sequel's like 100 years later, it's like whatever.
Yeah, that's true. But I mean, the one that comes to mind is Batman: The Telltale series. The sequel took elements from that, like obviously things happened to Alfred and that kind of stuff that carried over into a sequel. This is cool, I think, to like have allies possibly turn on you at any moment. Going into it, knowing that is interesting. Obviously, the game that comes to mind when you think of allies, to me anyway, of allies turning on you is
Far Cry 2?
No. Middle Earth, Shadow of War. Was it the most recent?
Oh, right, I never finished
Shadow
it.
of Mordor? No, because the orcs would like, you know, if you did bad thing or made your orcs do bad things, they'd like turn on you mid-battle.
What?
Mid-fight, yeah.
It's so funny.
Like if you like maybe accidentally kill their brother, they'd turn on you.
Murder.
I didn't realize you were related.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm happy or sad. I didn't finish the game. I didn't get to experience orcs telling me I murdered their brother.
Yeah.
Damn.
You should go back.
Yeah, no, probably ain't gonna happen. No, but that is cool. And then one other cool thing they wrote here was for Cinephiles is how the soundtrack features music by Japanese film composer Shigeru Imbayashi, who worked on movies like House of Flying Daggers and The Grandmaster. So they're going for the full, authentic, fucking
Japanese
sounding, and you know, so that's cool. Yeah, so that's that. Hopefully, get more details. Obviously, the one other thing that's worth pointing out about this is how this is from a preview article from a magazine that just came out this month, still saying that the game is coming out in June. You know, so they're doing a preview.
Could happen.
They're still pushing forward. Like I don't want to say, there's no chance in hell, but at the moment, it still seems like PlayStation and Sucker Punch are like June. You know, like they seem confident, but you know,
I mean,
shoot me. Was it? Prove me wrong once, I'm the fool. Prove me wrong twice, I'm the fool. Whatever the fuck saying is.
Everybody's a fool at this point.
Everybody's fool at this point. Yeah, that's right. And then the one other thing I had for this week was Godfall details, and this came from the same magazine, but we're reading from a different magazine website. So this comes from respawnfirst.com. Godfall details you need to know about. So I'm just going to run through because they've got a whole fucking... Nothing here is major, but they're just a bunch of sort of dot pointy things. And considering this is the only other PS5 game that we know about, or like the main PS5 game that we know about. It's like, fuck it. So they wrote Godfall is intended for PS5 and is generally tailored to run only on Sony consoles' new console, according to PS Magazine. It also mentions that at the time of writing, there is no PS4 version in the works, and that there is not going to be a cross-gen patch. So on PC, you'll be able to play it on Epic Games Store only. It's a timed exclusive and could release on other platforms later. So maybe it's timed exclusive Xbox later, I don't know. Inspiration from Dark Souls and novels, the developer, has referenced Monster Hunter World in terms of gameplay. You have plenty of huge melee weapons that you can use, such as a warhammer and human-sized swords. The game is also inspired by Dark Souls. You can have duels. There are also elements of countering and landing heavy strikes. Godfall is going to feature ray tracing. A looter slasher. The game has been described as a looter slasher that you'll be excited to know that some of the team members have worked on Destiny 2 as well. So this is going to be an exciting co-op game with rich experiences. Rewards for aggressive play. The devs have confirmed that players are going to be rewarded for aggressive play. You'll need to time every hit perfectly in order to deal the maximum amount of damage to your enemies. Elemental realms. The game is divided into the realms of earth, water, air, fire, and spirit. I guess spirit. Armor details. We've seen the big bulky armor in the teaser of the game. These armors are from one of the last remaining Knight's Orders. There are different types of armor called Valor plates, sure. Your class is it? Oh, sorry, I was reading that. My eyes went all blurry. Valor plates. I was reading the R before the O for some reason. I was like, that's weird. Valor plates. That does make more sense, eh? Your class is going to depend on the type of armor that you wear, but you'll be able to find new armor as you progress the game. And that's all that was from the PlayStation article. So it honestly, reading for anything, it just really does more and more sound like Destiny. Someone was like, let's take like the gameplay loop of like a Destiny, Division, whatever, that type of looter thing. Let's combine that with some Monster Hunter.
Let's say fuck guns.
Yeah.
We want melee weapons.
Yeah, and let's combine that with like Monster Hunter type shit. And then let's just set it in a massive fantasy world so we can bring in shit that looks like it's from all of these games we're kind of thinking about, because we can just set them in all the different realms, and then we'll go for gold. And I guess the 3-player kind of co-op aspect of it, instead of like a quads or whatever, sounds more like Borderlandsy or whatever else. But the other thing I do find interesting is that they're still doing interviews about it, and they're like releasing information slowly. There's still like, it comes up every month nearly. I'm reading like some slight little detail or whatever, and now that's in the PS Magazine as well. But they still haven't shown anything new since the original, the video at the Game Awards or whatever. So it's like, come on, give us a little bit of a look-see, would you? Give us a little bit of something else. This is Platinum Explosion's special, where myself and Kieran are replaying The Last of Us and discussing our adventure ahead of The Last of Us Part 2. You, of course, can catch this segment in Platinum Explosion PlayStation Podcast on ExplosionNetwork.com or solo on the same website, ExplosionNetwork.com, YouTube.com/ExplosionNetwork. It'll be cut out and posted up later. Today, we're talking about Chapter 5, which is Pittsburgh, and Chapter 6, which is the Suburbs. Both are very gameplay heavy segments, although there is some meaningful story stuff here. I would definitely say playing through this, it was like, I would say like 4 hours, and it is mostly gameplay. It is
the kind of the quote unquote meat of this game, kind of, where even like thinking about us going forward in the next couple chapters, this is kind of the meaty gameplay fighting through chunk of the game. I think for me, I'd forgotten a lot about this section of the game, and I think that's because it's the meaty gameplay section of it. I think because it's not... I
remember the core thing. Like, I remembered how it ends, where we'll get to at the end. And I remember you bump into certain characters. But, like, the main, like, going through combat level stuff, I forgot, kind of,
Yeah, so. Like, it's got... Like, it's very good in its own smaller nuances, and I think its environmental storytelling is probably maybe the best of the... of this game, because there's a lot of time to breathe and explore and let things play out as you're going through it. That I think really kind of helps build this world even more and builds you playing in it as part of this adventure.
I've noted down one section because it was my favorite environmentals part, but I haven't noted down everything. But there are the cool parts, of course, where Ellie like mentions the movie posters and all this sort of stuff as you're exploring here. That all kind of happens here. And, you know, where she's like, oh, that woman's so skinny. What's up with that? And then the part where she looks at the poster again and is like, oh, who would you see this? What's it about? And then Joel says he had to go see it and it's a stupid teen drama. And Ellie's like, well, how'd you get dragged to a stupid teen drama? And then he, of course, quickly changes the subject of that conversation. So this chapter starts with them continuing the car drive because that's where we last left them off, taking away from Bill's place. Ellie is sharing the items she stole from Bill, including the gay porno mag we quickly mentioned last week, the comic book, which then become collectibles from this point on in the game. Cool little thing you can find. And then the cassette tape that she also picked up, which she makes a funny joke about how Joel should be really enjoying the music because it's from his time. And he's like, this is way before my time. And then Ellie's like, I'm going to stay up. And then she goes to sleep and you get this cool car drive moment. So then they come to the highway. I'm sure the highway has an official name. I don't know. But like the main highway through Pittsburgh, I guess, is what it's supposed to be. But it's all blockaded off like episode 1 of the Walking Dead type scenario.
Very
the left side of
so.
the highway where your Rick's riding down on the horse on the right side, if you can picture that poster, I guess. And Joel has a whole moment where he's like, he obviously thinks about reversing and finding a way around, but then he's like, fuck it. And he turns off right and heads down into the city, which he will soon come to regret because as they begin driving through the city, someone begins walking up to the car like, help me, I need food. And then Ellie's like, oh, are we going to help him? He's like, that person don't need help. And then like Joel like rams him because he knows, and the guy pulls out a machine gun. There's people all above that all start shooting, which causes Joel to crash the car. And then you're pretty much in a lot of fights from this point on as you're introduced to the hunters, as they're called in the game, because they are hunters.
Hunting through.
They're hunting. You learn as you find collectibles or listen to their conversations and these sorts of things that these group, the hunters in this section, it's a similar section to where Joel starts the game, but these people killed the army and took over this section of the Pittsburgh that they're all living in now, and they pretty much just patrol and try and trick people like they tried to do to Joel, and they'll kill them, take all their shit, rework it. It doesn't seem like there's no sign ever given that they ever try and like turn people to bring them onto their side. It's all just, we've got our people, kill anyone else, and they refer to anyone else like Joel and Ellie. You hear them shout out like tourists, because tourist is anyone that's not them in their city. And a lot of that comes in when you play the multiplayer. You play as either the hunters or the fireflies, and the hunters in that game, if you're playing as the fireflies in the multiplayer, you'll hear them yell out like tourists as they spot you and this sort of thing. So that's when that comes in a bit more, I guess. There's one section here where you can find like a bunch of dead bodies, like when you first walk in that room too. Gives you a sign of just how fucked up they are, and they're doing
I think
some
it
nasty stuff.
Insinuates that it could possibly be cannibalism. Because, like, it talks about butchering and stuff.
Maybe not all of them, but at least like some of them possibly are partaking in cannibalism. But that's a zombie-ish trope, I guess, at this stage, like the humans that turn to cannibalism. So or they could be using them as bait to lure away the clickers and such. I don't, So after a few fights, you arrive at this hotel, and eventually Joel falls to the bottom, gets separated from Ellie. And the one thing I noticed here, because as we've mentioned, we're playing on easy just to focus on the story for this segment, is I remember as soon as I landed there, I'm like, oh, I remember this section. Like it was coming back to me, and I was being really careful sneaking around because I remembered there was like a boss fight here, or like a mini boss fight. You have to fight one of these fucking bloater things, and then I got the key card and I got out. And I'm like, wait, do I remembering the game wrong? So I like looked it up on Google, and they're like, no, the bloater doesn't appear if you're playing on easy. I'm like, wow, so the easy mode in this game, not only, as we mentioned last time, made that boss easy, but it's just deleting hard enemies.
It's ridiculous. I'm actually like so surprised that just the difference between normal and easy in this game is massive. It is,
But it's doing exactly what we want, which is we just want to
100%.
not have a hard
100%.
time. We just want to be able to relax and play and then come on here and talk about the game.
Yeah.
Because we're not playing it to do like an in-depth.
I'm just worried about when we get to playing The Last of Us 2, like part 2.
It's going to
fuck
up.
I'm just going to be like, oh, fuck, this is hard. Like, oh, okay.
If anything, there'll be like the first section and you'll like die real easy. And you're like, all right, I'm playing on normal difficulty now or something like that. Yeah. It's fun. It's no different in some other games. Like if I play like a first person shooter or something on easy just to run through and get collectibles, the next time I pick up an FPS and play it and I like stick it on normal or hard or whatever, there's always at the first bit where I'm like, wait, I'm dead. Oh yeah, that's right. I need to relax a little bit. So yeah. Another interesting comment I picked up in this hotel part that I thought was worth mentioning is you can find in one of the hotel rooms as you're running around or sneakily take. The other thing is I actually died at some point in this because I was trying to go too ham. So you can die rather quickly still if you start getting shot at. So even though we're playing on easy, I still stealth took out every single person in this hotel because
that's just my default playing style.
Yeah,
like
it makes
even
it more fun anyway.
It makes it more fun, and then the moment you fuck up, you don't have to restart like you did in the original playthrough. It was just fuck it. Okay, I'll just fight my way through this.
Yeah, just fight through. No. Yeah, but I tried to run through first, and I got killed very fast. I was like, well, these are too many people even for easy mode, maybe. Yeah. So I better chill out. But in one of the rooms, you can find these two people who appear to have committed dual suicide. I don't know what the official like wording for it is, but and Ellie comments about they took the easy way out or something along those lines. And then Joel responds to her by saying it ain't that easy, trust me, or something like that. Which I can't remember hearing the first time, but automatically started getting me thinking because I'm like, it makes it sound like Joel has contemplated suicide with that little sort of trust me, it isn't that easy comment. So that's a little play at a period of Joel's life we never get to find out about, which is the period after Sarah's death, but before he becomes this badass, angry. Gun for hire type thing where we skip ahead in time. Like it really does make it sound like there was obviously a few years there where shit was probably really hard for him and maybe he contemplated doing suicide and whatever else. So I thought that was quite interesting. Bit of slight character building. And a lot of that stuff happens in these small moments that if you are rushing through the game, you'll miss because although we're playing on easy, I'm still exploring. I'm not following a guide for collectibles, but I'm definitely checking every fucking room.
I'm checking for collectibles. Anytime either of them start talking about something, I stop and just chill and let them, like, I don't want to accidentally, like, walk too far and fuck it up. And I think I did it once and I was so annoyed. I was like, God damn it. Like, I've walked just that little bit too far, but...
I think I did it once earlier where Ellie had triangle above her to trigger it. And then, like, by the time I saw it and stopped the walk animation, it finished walking too far and she'd start walking. I'm like, God, fuck. Now I've been trying to be even more careful, So Joel eventually escapes and he attempts to meet up with Ellie once again, but then he's like climbing this ladder inside the hotel and he gets tackled by a hunter. The hunter appears to have Joel bested because he's got Joel's head underwater and all this sort of stuff. And then he gets saved by Ellie, who actually comes up and as Joel's trying to reach for his gun, she picks it up and shoots the hunter in the head. However, instead of Joel turning around and being like, oh my God, Ellie, thank you so much for saving my life. That wouldn't fit Joel, of course. He's like, God damn it. Do as you're told. You weren't supposed to come up here. Why would you do, like he's very aggressive with her straight away, which you can tell she gets disappointed with because she's obviously assuming that she'll get praise or thanks or something like that. Like, I just saved your life, like.
I think, especially for her in this, she's trying to maybe not on purpose, but subconsciously prove that she can be just as useful as Tess was in that relationship. Like seeing how Joel and Tess used to work together, and then she wants to strive to have that same level of respect and accountability in their partnership that she's pushing for.
Yeah, she wants to not be the weak little girl that he's got the package that he's bringing. She wants to be the partner in crime or have you. So after this moment, though, they breathe a bit of an argument and getting to a tiff. Outside, Joel doesn't trust Ellie with a rifle that they find as he heads down to try and take out all these hunters, and she proves that she can handle the rifle because she shot BB guns, popping swamp rats back on Tatooine. She used to do that. So she knows how to use a rifle somewhat. And then after Joel goes down and takes out all the hunters, he subtly, quietly sort of makes up by being for saving my life.
Well,
kind of like kicks his foot.
Like, because even then, like when he gives her he gives her the rifle, she's annoyed because he's like, "No, you're staying up here while I'm going down there," and she doesn't quite click what he is suggesting for that situation. That he wants her to look out for him with the rifle. And yeah, it's a real good. I think this is like the turning point for their relationship, very much so. And then on top of that, the following section also kind of cements them too.
Cements it a lot better, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like at this point it starts building something, and then I feel like it continues to build, and then like the point where they obviously it topples towards Joel having to just give in to Ellie being not just this weak little girl is when we get to section at the end of next week's episode, where has to be relying on Ellie. Like at that point, it's like all the trust they build up between now and then sort of has to plateau, and he has to, So after all that, he does then entrust her with a gun and says, "Only for emergencies." I mean, it's all fucking emergencies, isn't it? Like, do I shoot the clicker running at me now, or do I wait and save my bullets? Like, when is it an emergency? You know. So anyway, then the two attempt to they go down through some more buildings and whatnot, and then they end up getting chased by this car, Humvee or something. I guess it's got a turret attached to the top of it. Looks like it's something out of fucking Mad Max.
Can I say whatever the one thing that is always really interesting about The Last of Us universe, or the written narrative, which is different from every other zombie apocalypse, and none of those zombie apocalypses are ever 20 years in the future. Fuel does not seem to be a problem in this world. Because
not with this car.
Not with like the Jeep that's chasing around, and there's like cars with like the original section. Like this Jeep is just driving for ages, and you're like, well, you guys just don't care about fuel. Okay, interesting. There's not some kind of famine fuel shortage 20 years later. You're still going. Good. Okay.
Sure. Yeah. It's one of, they never really get into it, and I guess you're not supposed to think about it.
I think they use the setting of being an apocalyptic world, but they don't kind of force on the survival element of the
not too hard. But maybe they own the sequel, and it's like you got horses now. Like, you're traveling horses, not a car. Like maybe they're trying to like rectify some of the small things. I guess you could say for the hunters they have enough fuel because they're like stopping enough people's cars and like whatever else that they're just kind of tunneling all that fuel into this one patrolling vehicle, because you only ever see the one, I guess. Yeah, is the one saving grace here. But so they run away from this thing. You get a whole action sequence, and then eventually end up climbing along this windowsill and making a way into this building. And as they enter, Joel's grabbed by this person, and Joel manages to turn the fight around. He ends up beating the living shit out of him until Ellie yells for Joel to stop because she's spotted another kid in the room. So then Joel stops nearly killing the person, and they apologize to one another because they realize that neither is actually a hunter, which is what the person assumed Joel was. So they make up, and we're introduced to new characters, which are Henry and Sam, who are brothers. And they explain that the whole plan is to go in the same direction that Ellie and Joel are headed, but for different reasons. They're trying to find Fireflies because they want to actually join up and become part of the Fireflies. And Joel makes kind of sly comments about, you sure that's the best idea? But he doesn't want to get too involved, obviously. He's just a bit like, you sure that's good? Yeah, we want to do it because this. And then Joel's like, yeah, whatever. What do I really care? You know, Joel isn't the person to dig too deep into anyone's I feel
really not bad for Joel in this section, but he starts letting down walls that he's built up slowly. Like you see it towards the end of this section where his walls are coming down, and he starts considering the idea of being a permanent kind of 4 people unit traveling together to the Fireflies. And it all kind of goes to shit and tumbles down around him.
Yeah, well, he does make a comment a little bit after this where he's like, Ellie says it's probably good to be with them, and Joel literally just says, yeah, I agree, you're right, or something like that. Like he literally says you're right to Ellie, which is like, you said you're right to Ellie, Joel? Are you okay over there? You doing all right? Anyway, Henry leads them. And by the way, Henry is the older one by some 10 plus years, surely. At least. It's hard to tell his age.
It's hard. Well, he's got to be, because he was a kid 20 years ago.
So he'd be like 30 then, I guess.
So had to be in his 30s, and that must mean that his parents must have survived a very long time to be.
Yeah, so that means that he was a kid when it happened. His parents survived, and then his parents had another kid after the outbreak, and that's when Sam was
10
born.
years later, a decent amount of time afterwards.
So that's how that all adds up. Yeah, that makes sense, I guess. Mm-hmm. Who would bring a kid into this disaster as well? How irresponsible. Anyway. But Sam's the younger one, and he's because Ellie says later, she's like, "Oh, how old are you?" And Ellie says, "Oh, I'm 14." Then Sam's like, "Oh, I'm 14," and then Henry's like, "Oh, you're 14 now, are you?" So I would guess he's probably like 12 or something.
No, I think he's a year. I think he isn't. I think after that line, he says, "I'll be 14 in like a couple months or something."
Because I remember him being like, "Oh, I'm close enough," but I'm like, "How close though?" Like,
I think they mentioned a couple months or something.
Okay, so 13. Henry leads them to this safe house he's had set up for a couple of days because they got stuck there and separated from his group. The rest of his group has probably died to the hunters, which we find out later that's very much true. They sleep for a little bit, pass some time, because their whole plan is at nightfall they're going to sneak across the bridge, because that's the best time to do it, and make their massive escape. And you manage to get down there and take out all the goons, either by going ham or sneaking or whatever you do at this shootout scene. And then right as you're like making your way through the gate and everything seems happy-dory, the freaking Humvee car thing shows up, of course. And they try and make their escape, and this ladder falls down, and then Henry's like, "Fuck you." Well, not really. He's just like, dude, he knows, and he is kind of right. I agree in this moment. Like, Joel would have done the exact same thing to him.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's hard to really be on Joel's side in this sort of thing, but Henry's like, "Look, I gotta go. You'll be fine." And he takes off with Sam, and then Ellie's like, "Well, she jumps back down and is like, we're in this together." So then the two of them have to make their escape. And then you go for this whole action sequence running. Somehow Joel and Ellie, neither of them get shot by the 1,001 bullets flying past them. It's the most Uncharted-esque sequence when you're running from the thing shooting a million bullets. The amount of times I've done similar things, even like the tank thing in Uncharted 2, where there's like shit going everywhere. Somehow Drake doesn't manage to get hit by any of these bullets.
Yeah.
But you're like, whatever. And this is one of those sequences where it's like important to remember that this game is like action game, not actually a survival horror game. Like when you start, it's like it's a horror. It's got horror elements, and it is a horror game. However, it is not a survival horror game. It is an action horror game, and this segment really shows that the most. So they end up crashing on this beach after they dive off the water, and Ellie forces them to dive off the board, and they wake up on this beach. Henry and Sam are now back with them, and Joel is quick to spit it with Henry, but then calms down after some time. You can then find this boat and explore, and I thought this was worth pointing out because it's one of the more interesting note things from the game, and back in the day everyone thought it was really cool, which is that you can find all these notes from this point on for a lot of the base, and then like some point after that as well, the last couple ones, which tell the story of this character called Ish, who was basically one of the founders of this section you're about to spend the game going through, where they have like everything set up pretty fucking amazing. You can, as you explore, you'll see all the school section have got set up, and the way they're like collecting water, and like it seems like the perfect, and even as you're going through it, the characters begin wondering how it could go so wrong. If you read all the notes, you'll find out that apparently someone fucked up, forgot to close the door one day, a bunch of infected get in, nearly everyone dies, Ish and a couple other survivors managed to escape, and apparently he's out there somewhere in the wild, still alive. So if he turns up in 2, even if it's a small cameo, which I wouldn't be surprised, honestly, they could chuck him in as a small Easter egg thing for fans of this game. Because I remember when this first came out, everyone loved this little side story content for this character at the time. So
it's definitely something that Last of Us fans hold very near and dear to their hearts, are these Ish notes. And just the notes throughout this section, this sewer pipes kind of section is very... it can be a bit hard, especially like there's one room you go into and there's a note about somebody who'd locked themselves in there with the kids.
With the kids, yeah.
And that decision that they were going to have to make with the infected outside.
It basically implies that they kill all the kids as a mercy, and then either kill themselves or let something go along. Either way, it implies that they shot all these kids. Yeah. Which is, they leave a lot of the more fucked up stuff in this to the notes or whatever, but yeah. I mean, not to say fucked up shit doesn't happen in the game, but yeah.
No, definitely not.
So yeah, as you explore sewers, you'll find all that stuff. You'll find a lot of the weapons, and you get a new weapon, which is the sawed-off shotty, because apparently that's the weapon everyone in the sewers was like, that's the best weapon to have. So eventually Joel ends up separated from Ellie, who's gets stuck with Henry, and you get Sam, and you get to fight your way through these many areas of infected and clickers. And then when you eventually meet up with the other two of them, you get this hectic fight at the door as the kids have snuck out and they're trying to find a way to open it. I remember playing this on normal, I died like several times. And even playing it on easy, I'm like, this is a lot of clickers in a very small area. I'm just like, Molotov, fuck off.
It was just like, I remember this section. I'll immediately put down a couple nail bombs at the main entrances for when they come. I've got Molotovs, it's fine.
Yeah, as soon as the section starts, you just need to start doing it, because if not, you get overwhelmed.
I remember playing it on normal and like rushing to the door the moment the door was available to get out of, like rushing. Be like, holy fuck! This time I
stood with my back to it.
This time I remember being like, oh, the door's open. Oh, give me a sec. I'll kill this last one.
Oh really?
Oh, yep. All right, I'm coming. Like I'll be there in a second. Like.
I'll stand with my back to it. I'm still just like, Molotovs at my feet. Just it's fine. I can survive the warmth. We're on easy mode. I won't take that much damage. So once you get outside, though, there's a nice sign on the outside saying, "Hey, look out! There's danger here," which is still funny. Like they're like, "Oh, that would be nice on the other side."
Yeah, Ellie's reaction is great. She's like
Ellie's small humor even amongst the most dangerous things, which is why Sam shortly after this asks if she's afraid of anything. I guess moments like this. After this, you get a small moment of rest where you can explore its neighborhood, and this is my favorite sort of environmental story part
I love it.
of this whole stuff. Because there's lots of stuff to see, lots of stuff to explore, lots of nice conversations about both Joel and Henry being asked questions about certain objects or things in the world from back in the day and having to explain them to Sam and Ellie. Sam and Ellie will literally just go sit on the couch and have this whole conversation. They'll start playing darts in another room, and you can watch that all happen, which is quite funny because they get into an argument where like they don't know the rules of dart. They throw 3 in, and then Ellie's like, "Oh, I think I won." And then Sam's like, "No, it's not." And then she's like, "Fuck off!" Like, it's just so like moments like that really, I feel, build Ellie's character of just like this gun ho. I wouldn't say like know it all, but she's definitely like gun. She's like, "No, I'm fucking won the darts game," you know, like fuck off, dude. So yeah, it's moments like that I think they're really cool. And if you rush through the game, you miss a lot of these really cool moments, obviously. After this, you reach a suburb where there's a sniper parked at the opposite end of it, and you fight your way
I'd completely
through.
forgotten about this section of the game.
So had I.
I got to it and went, I remember now.
As soon as I got there, I was like, oh yeah, I remember now. And then you'll get up there. But until then, if you'd asked me, I would have been like, what? Sniper section? So once you get up there, you end up taking control of the gun yourself, and you have to shoot a bunch of clickers, and then eventually the fucking tank car shows up, and you end up destroying that, which then draws a whole horde of clickers to come through.
I'm always really confused about what those hunters are doing all the way out there, though. Like, it just seems very fucking...
They're obsessed. They're like, oh, we can't let these people go. We're going to chase them to the end of
But, like, the sniper and stuff, I'm like, fucking hell, how many people do you get coming through here? Like, I think
it's supposed to be, like, that's the edge of their...
Okay.
Section, I guess, is how I took it somewhat, you know? So, that's the end of the town, because you're like, you've gone through the main town and now we're in the suburbs, and like the suburbs I guess are on the outskirts, and then we leave those somewhat. There's of course a section here where Sam gets bit. You don't know it just yet, however he does get bit right at this moment where he gets tackled to the ground. Obviously I never noticed it the first time I played the game, but this time I'm like, that's it, that's the time that's when he got bit, right there and then. Then you all go spend a night in his house. Sam is acting really weird, obviously because he got bit, and he's asking Ellie what she's afraid of, and then she plays all sly and like makes jokes, which he gets annoyed about, but then she explains that she's just afraid of being alone, which I think says a lot about her character, and then is also super evident. Like if you watch like The Last of Us 2 teasers and stuff, you can like it all sort of plays in, I guess, to her character. Like that's like the idea of her being the one thing she's afraid of is being alone still fits her character right through to the end of this game, and as what we know about 2, I guess.
It still plays it totally plays into my theory that in part 2 Joel's dead. And Joel is just in her head. Like that's
Joel. Maybe.
Yeah. That's what I want it to be.
Find out soon. Sam explains that he's afraid of becoming one of them, and which is all makes it sad because I'm like, dude, just tell someone. Like, why? Like, it's hard to process, but I'm like, I don't know like how you'd be thinking. I guess if you know you're going to turn, like,
especially with what he's doing, because he's like inventorying, like doing inventory of all the food and stuff very meticulously and stuff like that. I'm like, wow, okay, kid, you're just trying to.
I think he's just trying to process it and just, I don't know, but he doesn't. I don't know. It's just one of these things where you're like, I don't know. And anyway, you come around to the morning. Morning time comes. Ellie wakes up. She asks Henry where Sam is. He's like, oh, let him sleep in for once. Everyone seems happy. They just escaped the town. Everything's going to be great. They're about to continue on their time all together as a group of four. Joel's like even pretty chill. Yeah.
And he's like, cool, we'll go together. We'll hang out now.
Henry and Joel had a great night before. They were talking shit together.
Yep.
Everything seems great. And then, of course, Ellie goes to check on Sam, and Sam's turning, I would say. Either way, he's at the point where he's viciously attacking Ellie, on top of her on the ground, trying to attack her. Joel, of course, goes to save. Henry shoots at Joel's hands, basically, to keep him away. And then eventually Henry realizes what he has to do, and he shoots his own brother. But, of course, then he begins, like, freaking out, understandably. Joel tries to get his gun from him, but Henry says, no, this is all your fault. And then as soon as he says that, he points a gun at himself, shoots himself, and it cuts to black. It is the most disturbing, I would say. It's like you have the opening of this game, terrible, heart-wrenching, and then this moment. And I think I think the fact that it all happens and then it just cuts to black and it's like fall or whatever. You know, there's no time to process it or anything.
It's like a jarring moment as well, because for me, I'd actually forgotten that Henry kills himself. I couldn't remember how. I hazily remembered that Sam turned, but I couldn't remember anything past it. And just how it's edited, that the gunshot and the closing fade to back kind of beat is all in the same kind of moment is such like a hard cut, like a hard, like almost ripping you out of that kind of that nice safe spot you were just feeling like you were in, where you were like, man, I've just escaped everything. We're going to be okay. It just like rips you out of that straight away and pulls you back into the world that The Last of Us is coming on in. So
it really is like, it pulls the rug. It's like, and remember what game you're playing? This world fucking sucks and shit's terrible and people are going to die. You know, it's really just a reminder, because I guess up until this stage, everything's been pretty good, you know? At the opening of the game, that's terrible, that's fucked up. But other than that, every character you've met, apart from Tess, you know, like ever since then, it's like, things are picking up. Bill seems okay. He's going to be all right. Meet these other two characters, they're going to be all right. And no, fuck you. Feel bad.
Yeah.
Have a tear. You better fucking feel sad. I'm like, I feel sad.
Especially for, I don't think there's not much of an inkling or a suggestion that of how Henry would react to something like Sam's death. I think it's very much so that Henry, he sees himself very much as Sam's protector, his bodyguard, kind of, he's responsible for him, and he's a bit overprotective of Sam. So but you never quite realize just how much, like, he goes from 0 to 100 from losing his brother in just grief in like moments, and watching that happen is so gut-wrenching and so abrasive to watch. It's hard.
I'd even pair it with that thing I was saying before about Joel saying it's not as easy as Ellie was making it sound, but not to say that Henry found it easy in that moment, but it was obviously, like, as far as he was in his mind in that moment, he's like, that's it, I'm done, I'm over.
It's easier than accepting that he's going to live in a world without his little brother.
Without his brother, because obviously it implies that his parents are dead and potentially were part of the group. I don't know, but anyway, so that's it for this part of The Last of Us replay. Of course, next week we'll be back once again. Next week we're playing through the chapters of Tommy's Dam plus the university. So you should all know where the university ends and where that'll cut to blank, obviously, with a big moment. But that's where we'll be playing through next week. Honestly, I just want to make note now, I can't remember how long all of that section is. I feel like a lot of it's just story stuff.
I can't remember how long Tommy's Dam is.
Yeah.
I can't remember how much gameplay is in Tommy's Dam.
I don't feel like there's much from memory, but I don't know.
It'll be interesting to see.
Find out what we say next week and if it feels wrong or if we was right.
I'm gonna find and I'm gonna kill every last one of them.
And that'll do it for this week's episode of Platinum Explosion. You can, of course, follow us all on Twitter by heading to explosionnetwork.com/Twitter. You can suggest topics or send in questions for the show by emailing mail@explosionnetwork.com with the subject line, Platinum Explosion. Do all that thing. And then until next week, remember that every trophy counts. Hey, don't forget you can subscribe to the show wherever you're currently listening, and you can drop a review if you can. Find more great shows like this and more content over at explosionnetwork.com, and please consider supporting us for as little as $1 over on our Ko-fi page by heading to explosionnetwork.com/support. Thanks for listening.